Hello everybody. In today's lecture, we'll understand Databricks Unity Catalog, what is the Unity Catalog and its architecture. So let's go to the next slide. Before we understand the Unity Catalog architecture, we'll deep dive little bit account and workspace. If you see in this diagram, each company will have one account, and that account there is an admin who can look all detail. He can create identities, access management, all these things admin can create. So if you go down on this diagram below, you have the metastore, high metastore here, or Unity Catalog metastore. That is a separate metastore. Workspace will have jobs which are orchestrated for your day in day out work, and each workspace you will have attached user. So we have separated here. If you see this, you have the normal user, we have service principal. Service principal is basically an application, how it is going to connect and what kind of data it is going to connect, those kind of information will be on the service principal. And groups will be the third category where set of users under the group. So these are the different workspaces. Again, depends on the, it may be a dev workspace, prod, test workspace, or depend on the use, maybe SQL workspace, we are talking about the data engineering workspace, or maybe a data science workspace. It depends on the company need. So different workspaces can connect with the single account. So this is your account and workspace. Now, what is the Unity Catalog? So Unity Catalog is kind of centralized data governance tool or utility given by the Databricks. So if you see this diagram, you will have different workspaces, data analyst, data engineering, data science through the one common centralized governance tool. It is connecting with the lakehouse. So if I summarize, Unity Catalog is a centralized governance tool given by the Databricks to connect with the lakehouse. So more theoretical, if you go, unified governance for all data and AI asset, whether it's a file, table, machine learning, and dashboard. Centralized governance solution across all your workspaces on any cloud. So that's where we talked about in previous, whether it's a test environment, maybe a prod, maybe a dev environment. Within the environment, you have multiple workspaces. For the business user, workspace is there, analyst workspace is there, data science is there, workspace, maybe data engineering workspace will have one common Unity catalog. And the one of the additional feature Unity catalog gives a lineage. So lineage means you have, let's say, employee table. That employee table, some job is feeding the data. So that lineage will provide what kind of job is feeding the data into employee, right? What from where this data is coming. All this graphical representation is given in the lineage. So that is also a capability through the Unity catalog. So now, before we understand the architecture, let's understand the hierarchy, how it works. We'll go bottom up approach. So think this way, we have number of tables are there, views and functions are there. They are attached with one database, suppose. And we can say schema. So, and this schema attached with the catalog. So multiple databases can attach or schemas can attach with one catalog, right? And multiple catalog can connect with the Unity catalog metastore. If you go down, so my Unity catalog store will have multiple catalog, one catalog will have multiple databases or the schemas, and then you have tables, views, and functions. So if you are writing a SQL query, this one is your SQL query. Select from catalog, then your schema name, and then table name. This is your select query. So what we are seeing, a Unity catalog metastore is separate than high metastore. So we don't need to be confused here. So once you create a workspace, there is a high metastore default. That is your default metastore, right? So it is linked with each data workspace. This is a separate metastore. Unity catalog metastore is a separate. Once we will do a practical example, we'll go in SQL workspace. There we'll create a we'll see a meta store, and we can migrate this default data or tables into the Unity Catalog meta store. So this is hierarchy. Coming on the architecture, that's where we talked about. If you see before the Unity Catalog, right? So each workspace will have their own separate groups. Admin is going to create a separate user and groups workspace label, and through the workspace label you can control the access. And each workspace will have their own separate hive meta store where you are storing connecting your tables and separate computer sources. So let's say for example, this is your dev. Under the dev you have, let's say, data science, analytics, all these workspace, right? Separate workspace will have separate. But what Unity Catalog is saying, that it puts outside of the workspace. So Unity Catalog is, if you see this diagram, it's outside of the workspace. Workspace 1 will have separate entity, workspace 2 is separate entity, but Unity Catalog is a common which is connecting with the different workspace. Unity Catalog will have their own user groups and management. Unity Catalog meta stores, 1 to n meta stores are there. Access control can be controlled through the Unity Catalog. So if you go to those three points, Unity Catalog access by account console sits outside of the workspace. That's where we are talking about workspace and Unity Catalog. There is a separation. It's outside of the workspace. That is the first thing. Unity Catalog will have centralized regional meta store. So once we say regional, what is the regional? Regional means one region can have one Unity Catalog. That is the best practice. If you want to connect with different region, use the Databricks, and under the Databricks you can use the data sharing. Through there you can connect with the different regions, right? But keep in mind, one region will have one Unity Catalog. This is the another architecture. You have the Unity Catalog. Unity Catalog has the meta stores, the audit files, lineage capability that we already talked about, data explorer, which is used to give the permission on the object. Let's say table employee, we want to grant some permission, data explorer we can use. Then access control, ACL store, storage credentials, account label management, right? Access control, Databricks workspace the separate, and there underneath your data. So this is your one of the architecture. Now let's talk about security model. So we have three security pillars here. One is the privilege pillar, that is securable object, principals or identities. If you go privilege means we can create, use, select query, modify, read file, write file, execute permission, read and write, execute permission. So these are your privileges. Securable object, tables, mostly we use the table. We are giving permission, read write kind of permission. Table we have use. Function, this already we talked about. Database, multiple database can connect with the catalog. This is the share, right hand side, share and recipient. These are used for the data sharing. External location, we are talking about the storage directory, right? Storage credential apply on the entire storage container. So these are the object where we are granting the privileges. And this is our users. Users have their own email ID on the company. Service principal we talked about previously, that application, what kind of data it is accessing, how it is going to access, right? So that application label if you are talking about, that is service principal. If you combine this group in the users and service principals in one category, that is our groups. So basically you can put this way, right? So now if you want to give a permission, let's say then let's say you can go in SQL workspace in console, you can write grant, then what kind of privilege? Let's say for example, select privilege I am giving on the employee table on, then I have employee table, right? To okay, what group? Let's say I have support group, production support group. So support group have 10 members. So I will give the complete group maybe. So this kind from the console I can give this command. It will give the permission on employee table, maybe select permission. There is another feature. Once we will go hands-on in the SQL workspace, you can directly expand that Metastore, Unity Catalog Metastore, you will get a tables, databases, and then tables. In the table, if you click, you will have tabs. It's a GUI where you can grant a permissions. And also there, once we will do a demo, you can see the lineage also. What are the jobs are connected with that table, specific table. All these can be given a graphical linear lineage, and it will know what are the jobs are associated with that particular table. So those kind of features are also there. So but having said, coming on the security model, so these are the this is the important command, keep in mind. To remember this, after on there is two. Life cycle of query with the unit catalog, how it works, right? So we have written step by step. One, first, let's say you are doing a user is selecting, giving a select query. See, you can use SQL, maybe Python, maybe R, right? Scala. He is writing a select query. Then what will happen? It will go to the cluster or the endpoint, and then what will happen? It will connect to the unit catalog, check namespace, metadata, and grant. It will go to the storage, assume the IAM role, because let's say it has the read permission, the IAM role, manage identity, it will check. And fourth, what it will do, return the list of path, data files, and scope down temporary token. It will give a temporary token. Once this step gets complete, fifth step is that request ingest data from path data files with temporary token. Then it will return a data. Now let's say, for example, you have the catalog inside your employee table, or you are selecting one record, that will come one record here. It will enforce policies, and then you will get a result out here. So that particular record will get displayed to the user on the console. So this way how the life of the query with data Unity catalog works. So this is the life cycle. So this is high level architecture and how the Unity catalog is working that we have discussed. Next presentation will go in practical. We'll understand how we can implement this practically, and it's very simple. In Databricks, it's written in very simple steps. You can migrate your Hive store, default meta store, into the Unity catalog meta store easily. So in SQL workspace, you have drag and drop features GUI, where you can also apply all these permissions, and an admin who is giving all these kind of permission. If you see the admin here, and we have some audit log right hand side, so he creates an IAM role, storage credential, location of Unity catalog, define the access policies on the Unity catalog. So I hope this is giving little bit idea or the architecture overview of the Unity catalog. Thank you for watching.